This next session is an interview with the legendary Dave Ulrich. My name is Jennifer Ward. I work with Sigmar Recruitment as an Associate Director. I work in the HR recruitment space. So when the lineup was announced for this year's Talent Summit, I immediately put my hand up to speak with Dave. And luckily enough, I was successful in getting the interview. He probably needs no introduction to most of our audience here today. But just for maybe people outside the HR space, Dave is a professor at the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. He is a partner at the consultancy firm, the RBL Group. Dave is considered the father of modern HR and HR thought leader of the decade. He has ideas that have shaped the HR profession and is a best-selling author with over 30 books and 200 articles. He also continues to seek ideas with impact, which can be followed on LinkedIn, where he regularly posts influencing thinking around leadership, organizational capabilities, talent management, culture, change, just to name but a few. On top of all of that, he has won numerous awards. He's a husband, father and grandfather, and is coming to us today from Utah. Dave, it's great to speak with you. It's truly a pleasure. Welcome to Talent Summit and virtually to Dublin. How are you keeping today?
I am excited to be here. This is one of the events I've looked forward to, Jennifer, and thank you and Sigmar for hosting and sponsoring. I was looking for something when you said I'm the father of HR. Welcome to my office. We're socially distant, but we're not isolated. You get to peek into my office, and I was looking for a picture. That's what I'm the father of.
Wow.
That's my mother in the middle, our 3 children and 10 grandchildren. So I'm actually the father of a great set of kids. So welcome. We can be a little more personal, even
Absolutely.
though we're technologically distant. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, look, thanks again for joining us. So we're here to have a chat about HR's Reinvention, which I think is constantly being reinvented, but maybe more so and, never at such speed as it has been over the last 12 months. And HR has really been front and center in steering this change. Over the last, and also I think the full impact of the last 12 months is yet to be seen. What have you seen to be kind of key trends that have come out of the crisis over the last couple of months?
Let me first of all say, I don't think any of us have experienced a 12-month history like this one. For me, I can put a date on it. On March 11th last year, I was teaching an evening course at a local university. I got in the car to drive home and I talked to my wife and she said the NBA, National Basketball Association, has just been canceled. Well, that was a domino effect. We thought it would be over in April, then June, then summer. It's been a year.
I know.
And what's happened is it's compounded. It's both the physical pandemic, and I sure hope people get the vaccine. I hope we're seeing that begin to end. But there's also been social injustice issues with refugees in Europe, with Black Lives Matter in the United States. There's been economic chaos with some industries booming. Don't we wish we could go back to March 11th and buy Amazon and Zoom and Google stock? But other industries are decimated. There's been political turmoil. I know not in Ireland where you are. There's never political uncertainty there. That was a joke. Then in America, we've just lived through a horrible political quagmire. All of those add up, I think, to 2020 and 21 being the people organization crisis. 2008 and 9 was the economic and financial crisis. This is the organization crisis. And we're seeing all kinds of crises: social crisis, isolation, how do we work together, how do we help our people, emotional crises, the anxiety about life. Everyone I know is facing this emotional malaise, and little gnats between you and your partner become big issues because of all this emotional tension. Professional crisis, companies going through incredible digital change. Spiritual crisis, what matters in my life? I've been home for so long. So I just think this is the people and organization crisis, where HR has always been critical to a company, but I think never more critical to help a company and the people cope with those crises.
Absolutely. And in terms of, leadership, I know you speak a lot about effective leadership. How is the role of the leader changing at the moment, bearing in mind we're missing that kind of face-to-face aspect of management? What are you finding is kind of
There's and you're going to hear me say this a couple of times probably, and I'm going to say it with really bad French. Plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. So, by the way, that's bad French. I'll translate it so people can hear it. In some ways, things are still the same. I mean, leadership has been around. We faced change before. And so, in some ways, the basics of leadership are the same. The differences are, how do you lead in a distributed world? So it's not about a great iconic leader where she or he sits on top of some pyramid and issues wisdom. How do you lead through this kind of setting? How do I lead people when they're in their homes, when they're working virtually, when they're under emotional demands? I think one of the things, and so leaders have to do the same thing. We identify traditional leadership skills. They set a strategy, a direction, they execute, they manage people, they take care of themselves. The thing I would add to that, and it's not adding, but it's putting a microscope on it or a microphone on it, is the E word: empathy, emotion, experience. I think in this world of emotional strife, leaders need to start with emotion. How are you? Tell me about you. Help me understand what you're facing. Because one of the things I think, and we may get into this more, I ask people, what's one word or phrase that would capture the last year that you hope goes forward? A new digital world. Not bad. That's not my word. My word is personalization. What does that mean? Leaders need to be more personal. They need to care about people even more. I mean, good leaders have always cared about people, but how are you? And the other part of personalization is caring for each individual separately. I'm betting that there's a woman I know who has a 4-year-old son, and she has great support. So she's doing very well with that. I have 3 children. Our 3 children have responded very differently to this crisis. One has quit her career to homeschool her children. Our son goes to work and his wife stays home. One has got dual career. I think we're going to personalize. I think we're going to have, there's not going to be everyone's going back to work. We're going to have hybrid work. We're going to have personalization. I think leaders need to distribute their work, build emotional connection, experience emotion, empathy, and then personalize. And those would be 3 things that I hope leaders begin to capture.
Absolutely. I know the Pulse survey that Sigmar conducted said that 92% of employers are expecting work practices to alter post-COVID. How do you think we're going to be able to sustain, a real sense of belonging and engagement with people? What are you seeing?
Well, first of all, let me just say the Sigmar survey that you sent was just exceptional. If people haven't seen it, you'll tell people where to go to get it, obviously.
Yeah.
What I love about the work that you're doing at Sigmar is you're not just being descriptive. There's a lot of descriptive surveys. Here's an insight. Somebody who's working at home with 2 or 3 children, male or female, is facing enormous stress. I feel like going, wow, I would never have predicted that. I mean, and by the way, that's a bit of a joke. We know that. What's interesting about the Sigmar work is you're not just describing what can be done, you're talking about how to go forward. So let me unbundle some of what I talked about. When employees come back together in a hybrid way, at work, at home, it doesn't matter where they work. 2 things a leader should, I hope, do. And again, I don't want to be too prescriptive because this may not be enough. One is start with personal. This crisis has been tough for all of us.
Yeah.
How you doing? What have you learned? What's worked? What's not? What are you feeling? Second, I think it's critical to build a boundary of work, not around the place. So I think people are saying, when do I go back to work? Well, that's nuts. I've been at work. In fact, I've never worked harder. I'm working 24 hours a day because of Zoom, and I'm sick of Zoom. I'm not sick of Zoom, by the way. I wish I had Zoom stock. They have great people there. But the question is, what is the boundary of work? When is it, as an employee, you're doing great work? And I think the change in that logic is the boundary of work is not a place. My office is not my work. You're welcome to my office. The boundary of work is, what did I do today that created value for a customer? So if I'm a leader, or if I'm in HR coaching a leader, or if I'm in HR, question 1, how you doing? What's happening in your life? What's working? What's not working? What are you learning about yourself and things that matter? And then second, what did you do today that helped a customer of our company? If the answer is, I don't know, then I think as a leader and as an HR person, I need to say, let's figure out what you make sure you do. So in HR, wow, I tried to build a staffing system, obviously recruiting with Sigmar. I'm supposed to say that twice. Uh, I helped build a staffing system that I think will help us hire and recruit employees who have the skills our customers expect. So as I begin to put together the standards and the expectations for an employee in position X, I didn't start with the employee or the position. I started with the customer. Who's a customer this position will have influence on? What set of knowledge and skills then does the employee need in that position? And then how can I source that position against those customer expectations? And so if things we do in HR are filtered by the boundary of connecting to customers, I don't care where I work. I can be in my office, I can be in a car, I can be in a coffee shop, I can be in a physical setting with other employees. But I hope I can do that. And I have to say there's a third. So the third piece is help us connect with each other. I don't know how to do this, and I'm going to confess, we need to belong. Yeah. I realize you mentioned that. We are social. Well, I got to ask, Jennifer, are you more an introvert or an extrovert?
Sometimes I think I'm introvert, but I'm definitely extrovert.
Okay. I am 100% introvert. So the last year working at home has been a pure delight.
Yeah.
I mean, and people have said, Dave, you have a personality for being an introvert. I mean, I'd love to hide. But even introverts, we've got to connect with people.
Yeah.
We've got to connect. And so in Zoom, what I love to do, I'll give an example. And I didn't do it with Jennifer today because I'm not. When I peek into somebody's office, like you're peeking into mine, I love to say, show me something on your wall or your shelf that tells me a story about you.
Yeah.
Let me get to know you. And that belonging is around that emotion and connection that we can do with each other. I've learned a lot about a lot of people. One of the funniest ones, I was talking to a CEO and I said, so what's behind you? And she said, Dave, this was early in the crisis last year. In my house, I have kids at home. We're pretty busy. I'm in the laundry room, and that's the bar that holds the clothing when I do laundry. And I just thought, I never would have known this incredible CEO does laundry, and then I got to peek into her laundry room.
I know.
What a cool shared experience. Anyway, I've rambled around that one, but thank you. Great question.
Yeah, but it's great to get a bit of an insight into people's backgrounds, and it does help to kind of build those relationships. I know one of my colleagues in Sigmar has like a stuffed deer's head, but it's like a toy one. But it's such a great conversational piece.
What kind of head?
It's like a toy stuffed deer's head.
But deer head?
But it's a toy one. But it's always a great kind of talking piece, and people's cats walking across the screen, etc. So it does help to kind of build that engagement piece, so you're not just fully talking business at all times. Yeah. Moving on to talent and innovation, obviously with the world of work opening up in terms of location, globalization, there's so much more competition for talent. How have you seen the last couple of months companies changing their approaches, or how has talent the war for talent, I guess, been changing?
I mean, we've got to fight the war for talent. I don't think you win the war with people, and I'm going to use my fingers, that's the right people. I think you win the war with the organization. So you got fingers, that's talent. I like to eat, obviously, and you got to have good ingredients, but you've got to put the ingredients together to make a great meal. So we have discovered that, again, plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose, but the more things change, the more they're the same. Talent has three dimensions. One is competence. Are we getting people who have competence to do the work? If you don't have the right ingredients, the right competence, they're in trouble. Two, commitment. Are they willing to work hard? You can have very competent people, but they're not very committed. And third is contribution or experience. And so the competence is the head, the mind, the skills. Do we have the right set of skills? The commitment is the hands and feet. Do I show up? Am I present? Am I engaged in the literature? And contribution is the experience, my heart and soul. So we've got to get the mind, competence, the hands and feet, the commitment, and the heart and soul, the contribution. I'll share one thing that is just fascinating. And one of the things we're discovering is research. And again, Sigmar's research is really good, not just to describe what's done, but to prescribe what should be done. we started a research project about 2 years ago called the guidance system, organization guidance system. And so we looked at 9 talent activities that you can do to manage your talent, bringing people in, paying people, training people, exiting people, giving employees a great experience, giving them 9 activities. My interest is not in describing the best practice that's done. My interest is saying which of those 9 activities will have the biggest impact on results that matter. Let me say that again. So it's not just a description. Let's describe that singles who live in a small apartment in downtown Dublin or London or Paris and are socially isolated are kind of struggling because they're not connected with you. Again, I think I'll stipulate that. Now, what do you do about it? Well, we looked at these 9 practices and we tried to say which ones will drive employee engagement. That's good. Strategic redirection, changing our strategy, customer connection, investor confidence, and social responsibility. Here's the insight that we just found. I presented this once or twice. I wish I had time to show people the results. We have 1,000 companies, and it's called www.rbl.ai. You can go do the survey for free. I think Sigmar will love this. The number 1 HR practice for talent that has outcomes, that drives outcomes, is acquiring people and putting them in the right position. It's the most critical thing. Absolutely. It's more important than training. It's more important than compensation. It's more important than retention. It's more important than exiting. It's even more important than employee engagement. If we get in this crisis, this is real data, 1,000 companies, it's not a perfect data set, but if we can acquire and place the right person in the right job at the right time, that will have more impact on those outcomes than any other talent management activity. I find that fascinating.
That is fascinating.
Again, I kind of wish it wasn't so because I'm a professor and I do training. I wish it said, if you were trained by the work that Professor Ulrich and others do, this is the most important thing. It wasn't. It was the acquisition and positioning of talent, more than career planning, more than any of the other 8 initiatives.
That's amazing. And how do you feel that technology kind of comes into that talent acquisition piece? Have you, I don't know, sometimes, sorry?
Huge issue. I think technology's gone through 4 phases. The first phase of HR technology is efficiency. Let's take what we do and put it online. So we've almost everybody, and by the way, if you haven't done that, don't, I'm going to offend some of the consulting firms. Don't start from scratch. You got SAP, you got Workday, you got solutions that are out there. They drive efficiency. The second level of that is innovation. I think we're seeing HR technology in incredibly innovative ways. Josh Bersin is the meister of this. He uses technology in learning, in compensation, in communication, and we see all kinds of innovative apps. By the way, I get a little cynical of some of those apps. Sometimes I think the apps are the goal, not the means to the end. The means is to help succeed in the marketplace. So it's efficiency, innovation. The third level is information. Does the technology give me information that helps me make better decisions? I think the fourth level of technology, where I'm not sure we're there yet, how does technology create better experience for the employee? Yeah. And that's where I was talking about before. We're socially distant. I hope someday I can be on the stage next to you so that you're not talking to a screen and I'm not talking to a screen and you have an empty podium. I hope technology can find an experience, and we're seeing it. Our grandson was here this weekend. He's how old is he? He's 18 months old. He grabs my phone, he hits the button, and he starts to do this. And then what was so weird, he gets on it and he FaceTimes me. Yeah. and I'm standing in the room and he looks at the phone and he says, "Grandpa, how are you?" And I'm going, "I'm here." I mean, the technology, I assume your son also is pretty good at technology. Yeah. But I hope, now let me say that again. If I'm in HR, number 1, use technology to be more efficient. Put things online. 2, be innovative with the 1,000 of apps. 3, use technology to drive information. And 4, use technology to create new experiences. Those for me are the waves of technology that I hope we can do in HR. And again, I feel strongly about this. A lot of people think, oh, HR is all about technology. Technology is a channel. It's it's a means. It's not the end.
Yeah.
The goal is to help our company succeed in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And I hope that we use technology as a mechanism to help us succeed in the marketplace. I see some really good advocates of technology. I'll tell one quick anecdote because this is so critical. About 5 or 6 months ago, somebody came to me and said, I have the latest app for engagement. I can scan things, I can screen things, it's all mobile. It will measure engagement in ways you've never seen before. We were having lunch and I said, wow, that's really cool. And I looked at the creator of this, the two architects, and I said, why should I care? And they said, what do you mean? And I said, I'll stipulate you've got a great app. Why should I care? Because it's phenomenal. It's technologically advanced. It's really good. It'll give you good visualization. Why do I care? Because it's good. And I said, let me give you some counsel. Business leaders care less about the quality of your app than they do about increasing market value of customers, increasing market value. Until and unless you can link your technology to outcomes business leaders care about, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So don't begin a discussion with technology. Begin the discussion with results that a business leader and an organization cares about. Investors, customers, strategic redirection, employee engagement, community citizenship, a clear one.
Yeah.
If you as a business leader care about that, my app will help you. But don't talk about the app as the end. It's a means to that end.
Yeah, absolutely. And in talking just about, how HR can kind of impact that whole remit of not just kind of the employees and the stakeholders, but also the outside kind of customer, investors, and the wider organization. How do you feel that the redesigning of work is going to affect all those areas?
Huge. I mean, customers don't care how you design work. What they care about is, did you give me a product and service and experience that made it easy for me to do business with you? And so our job in HR behind the scenes is to create that. Let me give an example. By the way, I love this conversation. This is so fun. And just so people know, we did not script this. I intentionally told Jennifer. In fact, Jennifer sent me questions and I didn't look at them because I wanted this to be more impromptu. I hope as you're listening in, it's kind of like Jennifer and I are on a stage, or you're sitting in my office and we're having this conversation. But I think one of we call that outside in, investor, customer, the community in which we live. One example of that is culture. Culture eats strategy for lunch. I mean, we've all heard that line. I'll tell you a secret. Everybody says Peter Drucker said it. He never did. But if you have a great quote and you want it to become famous, tell the world that either Albert Einstein or Peter Drucker said it, because then it will make a difference. That outside in logic, though, is so critical with culture. Culture traditionally is the roots of the tree. It's our roots, it's our beliefs, it's our values, it's the underlying principles. That's an inside out approach. It's who we are. I like to shift that. Culture is the leaves and branches of the tree. It's what we're known for by our customer. Amazon, world domination. They want to be known for incredible customer service and experience. You get, I don't know in your country if Amazon's there, but they're all over the world.
Yeah.
Can you get your product within 24 hours? Can you have a great experience? That external perspective from the customer gets driven inside Amazon into how they design and build their systems. And so they build internal culture against external promises. If we're trying to create the right culture, not just a set of values, but the right values, start with the customer. What does that mean if I'm in HR? Start almost every discussion. Who are our customers today and tomorrow? What's our unique identity we want them to know us for? Is it service? Is it cost? Is it efficiency? Is it positive experience? How do we then build the HR tools, staffing, training, development, appraisal, against those external expectations? And then what you've created in HR is an internal HR agenda that creates value in the marketplace. I'll give you an example. A lot of people have said, somebody put on LinkedIn a few months ago, and I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. Dave Ulrich said, people are our most important asset. Well, guess what? I've said that. I just said it. So has Jennifer, you've said it. Everyone in the world has said it. That's not what I believe. Here's what I believe. Our people are our customers' most important asset. I've added one word. People are our most important asset. Our people are our customers. So again, go back to the thing I said. If I'm hiring someone, don't start with the people, start with the customer.
Yeah.
What is it we promise customer? Amazon, efficiency, quick delivery. Guess what? Amazon's going to have a pretty aggressive and demanding culture. And in fact, sometimes they get criticized. Amazon is demanding, they're pushy. Why? Because I want my package. I'm trying to see what I got from Amazon. Ooh, I shouldn't admit it. My watch is broken. So I ordered from Amazon a new, by the way, I have a Timex watch, just really, really high end. And it's running out. It's cool to have a $20 US watch. I ordered it 2 days ago and it showed up yesterday. You know what? I love that. And what does Amazon have to do? They're not innovative in terms of, everybody be innovative. They're really demanding because they want me to get that watch within 24 hours. Other companies like Google encourage creativity and innovation, risk-taking, failure. Well, when you start with the customer and build the culture back from that, you create a culture that will be sustainable because it creates value for the customer.
Absolutely. And every company is so different in what is demanded from them. They really have to look external to really see how to shape the internal processes and strategy.
Absolutely. What's one of your favorite companies today? Just, and we didn't script this, just what's one of your favorite, in addition to Sigmar, what's one of your favorite companies?
Well, I actually have been, using social media quite a bit, and I've really enjoyed getting into Zoom. I have quite a large family, and it's been great to be able to connect with them. We don't live nearby, and we've really been using Zoom quite a lot, which I've really enjoyed.
By the way, there's an HR person, Lynn Oldham. She took the job at Zoom in November 2019, head of HR.
Yeah.
She won the lottery because as a senior HR, she ended up with stock. And then the crisis hit. What does Zoom do? What do you get from Zoom that makes that a good experience? I can connect with family and friends around the world. It's an easy thing to connect with, one button. It's easy to work with. It has features I like. So Lynn, the new head of HR at Zoom, and again, I covet Lynn's job because she timed it so well. Her job is to get people and systems that allow Jennifer, wherever she's living, and her family and friends to have a great experience. Our people, our talent, are our customers' most important asset. What Lynn will do at Zoom is create an organization and talent and culture so that you, Jennifer, won't ever know what Lynn did, but you'll have an experience that says, geez, I could use Zoom or 5 other social media platforms. I choose Zoom.
Absolutely.
Cool. That's the logic. And it doesn't have to be a CHRO. Every HR person can begin at any level to think through. It's not what I do. It's the value that I create for someone else. And who's that someone else? Either an outside customer or an internal client.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that your Stages of HR model is super famous. How have you seen that kind of evolving and being relevant today?
By the way, I get excited about this question and I get frustrated. In the 90s, we looked at HR groups, and here was the challenge. You've got to build good specialists who have technical expertise in compensation, recruiting, organization development, et cetera. And you've got to adapt that to the business. Business partner was a buzzword. So we did a book, HR Champions, that talked about how to make that happen. That logic is still there. But what's happened is we talked about the HR structure, the centers of expertise, where you have experts and specialists, and the embedded HR people, where you have generalists. We focused a lot on the structure being the design of the organization. How do you get your centers of expertise working with your generalists to be effective? Since that book by the way, that's 23 years old. Think back 23 years ago. What was your phone like? It was a big box with a stem. What was the dominant technology? I think it was Xbox.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and in 23 years, we've had a lot of change. Now, HR still has to be effective. And what we've identified, and I won't bore you with this, you can find it on LinkedIn. We've identified, instead of looking at the HR structure, which still has to be looked at, how do you govern HR? We have 9 dimensions of successful HR. It's not one, it's 9. For example, one of them is, who's our customer?
Yeah.
Well, in the 90s, the customer was the internal employee. Today, the customer is also the strategy of the company, the customer of the company, the investor, the community. So we've evolved that logic. We've not changed it, we've evolved it. What's our purpose in HR? In the 90s, a lot of it was to be efficient, to make strategy happen. Today, the purpose of HR, outside in, is to get customers to buy more product from us. I could use so many examples. Disney builds an HR system in their theme parks so the customers come back. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
We've evolved it. We have 9 dimensions of analytics. I talked about the evolution of analytics. In the 90s, it was about efficiency. Let's get SAP. Let's get PeopleSoft. Let's get the systems in place. Now the analytics is about information and experience. So we've expanded the idea. What's really interesting, we have these 9 dimensions of HR, and we have outcomes that you can create: employee, strategy, customer, investor, and community. Which HR dimension or area has the most impact? Here's what we just found in this new research on the guidance system, which just gets me so excited. The relationships we build.
Yeah.
Say that again. The 9th dimension of HR going forward is not the structure. That's the 4th dimension. Do we have specialists working with generalists? And of course, we've got to do that. But it's the relationships. Here's the insight. If we in HR have good relationships with each other, for example, at Sigmar, do we get along with each other, and good relationships with our leaders and our clients outside? That will overcome a bad structure.
Sure.
And so the focus, I'll give an example. A lot of HR people get really excited about the organization structure, and I can go into the evolution of that. And we do what's called RACI, responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. Who's going to make what decisions when? I've been married. I should show a picture of my good wife. Oh, that's bad. I don't. I'll show a picture. Hang on. This is a quick intervention. This is my good wife. That's more personal.
What's her name?
Married for good wife. No, Wendy. We've been married for 45 years. RACI, responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. In 45 years, not once have we sat down Sunday night and said, oh, here's our form. Here's the activities: shopping, laundry, cooking, paying bills. Who's responsible? Who's accountable? I don't know if you and your partner have done that. We've never done that. Guess what? We have a good relationship. She's really busy in her career. I'm busy. We had kids here this weekend. So on Monday, guess what? I did laundry and she did some shopping. And it worked.
Yeah.
And next week it may be different.
Yeah.
I think in HR, sometimes we get too consumed with role clarity, where we should start by getting relationship value, relationship clarity. How are we going to work together? And the roles change. Yes, we have to have specialists who work with generalists. We've got to have that, no question. But how do we build good relationships? That's where the model's evolved. It started by focusing on structure. It's now got 9 dimensions that will create value for the customer outside the company.
And do you think that, being unable to have that kind of face-to-face aspect, that those relationships are going to struggle, or do you think people are just going to get more and more used to dealing remotely and this type of format?
Yes, I think they're going to struggle, and I think we're going to have to use this format. I mean, I won't ask you personally. I'll confess. We've been married 45 years. That's a long time. This last year, we've been together 24 times 7 because actually the saddest part in my life, last week we were able to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
My wife's a healthcare worker and we got it. We came home and we said, yes, we can socialize. Then we looked at each other and said, we have nowhere to go. Our friends are all on vaccine. I mean, we may be able to go to a play or to dinner in a few weeks, but there aren't any.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to face emotional pressure that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And we're facing it. And I hope it works. That's why that your really thoughtful early question was, what does it leaders need to do? Empathy, emotion, experience, energy. The personalization, care about the person.
Yeah.
When I meet somebody new, my first question is usually not, what's our task? It's tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
What do I need to know about you? I hope, Jennifer, I did that with you today.
Absolutely.
Tell me about yourself. What do I need to know about you?
Yeah.
Who are you as a person? And by the way, we got a task to do. I'm not afraid of accountability. But accountability in the context of affection and emotion, I think, becomes so critical.
Absolutely. And well-being and mental health now just becoming more and more to the fore. Just
well, what did your survey show about that? It was amazing.
Absolutely, just that it was such a high focus, and it was top of the list where, in previous years it mightn't have been up as high, but, everybody kind of recognises that that's where the focus kind of needs to be. And as you say, we can't just go straight into biz, we need to be looking and asking how people are doing and showing all those E's.
Yeah, and I love the concept. It was some research from a long time ago. In a high demand world, you can't always reduce the demand. There's going to be emotional trauma. Living together and again, I confess my wife and I, even after 44 years, have had to talk through different things because we're together 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You can reduce the demand somewhat, but you got to resource it. Sure. So you say to an employee, yeah, you're going to work at home. How can I make that work for you? And you got to meet customer outcomes. Remember, there is a boundary of work. If you're not doing something today that will show value to a customer, you're not doing your job well.
Yeah.
So how can I help you see that through technology, through engagement, through teamwork? What can I do to help you create that value? And I think the demands are going to stay high. Uncertainty is, people have said to me, what's 2021 going to be like? And I said, no clue. And then they say to me, I know a new normal. And I say, no, you don't. I mean, last January, I was all scheduled for a new normal, and it blew up in March.
Yeah.
I don't know a new normal. So how do I live in that high demand world? What resources? And they could be decision making. You get control. They could be empathy. They could be teams. They could be technology. Am I giving you resources to cope with that incredibly high demand? That's where I think HR will begin to move and to live.
Yeah, and it's so individual it really just comes down to every single person and their preferences and really getting to know everybody at that level.
Yeah, and I don't know how to do that. I mean, I get the individualization. I mean, the customization, personalization. How do you scale that in a company with 10? I got it. How do you do it in a company with 100? I think I got it. What about 1,000? What about 10,000? So how do we navigate this inherent paradox of consistency and standardization, which you got to have with 10,000, and customization and personalization? And I think one of our challenges in HR is to navigate across those kinds of paradoxes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're just on our last 5 minutes, Dave. Just to wrap up, in terms of kind of what's next, and I know we've kind of touched on it throughout the course of the conversation, but what do you see to be kind of the next core traits for HR leaders and capabilities? Like, what do you think is kind of going to come to the forefront now as we face into the next new norm, which is not going to be the last either?
I should high five. I don't know if you can high five on a screen.
Should we do it to the side?
Yeah, we should do some sides. I got up this morning. We love research. By the way, everybody has their wish list. I've got my wish list of competencies. I love to say to them, what's your evidence? What's your data? We've done 7 rounds of research on the skills of HR going forward. I was working this morning, and I'm in the middle of it right now. I can show you the screen. We just finished collecting data in the last 12 months by Pat Wright and Mike Ulrich, our son, who's done this research for decades, the 8th round. We have data from over 20,000 people. We've identified 5 domains where HR needs to be effective. I'm not even going to be able to remember them because I was just looking at them late last night and this morning. One is continuing to know the business.
Yeah.
And there's 2 pieces of that, I think. By the way, you're now getting the memo I'm sending to my son that we'll talk about later today. One is an external, outside-in perspective, customer, investor, community. The other is inside out. Can I build my internal systems to deliver value outside in? So business, outside in, inside out. Another one is personal credibility. What's really interesting in our research on that, and this will be showing up in the next 3 to 4 months. So come to the talent conference and get the latest, greatest stuff, because it's not even done yet. I mean, we are just working it. I think HR people have to model what they preach. And our data says, yes, listen with integrity. What we're adding to that stuff, we've had personal credibility, credible activists, diversity.
Yeah.
Are we in HR modeling the diversity that we expect and respecting differences in others? A third one is the HR toolkit, talent, structure, design, HR tools. A fourth one, I know a fourth one, but I can't remember the fifth one. A fourth one is harnessing uncertainty. I know the fifth one now. It's harnessing uncertainty and being able to navigate change in an uncertain world. And the fifth one is information and analytics.
Yeah.
Those are the 5 buckets of skills that we found in our latest research. In the next week, we'll be able to tell you which of those 5, business, HR, personal, information, and uncertainty, has the biggest impact on business results. We haven't done that research yet, but those are the ones I'm thinking about that our research begins to show.
Great. We'll be looking forward to seeing those.
I've got to share though my message, and the most important message for me, and I've got to see by show of your hands if you agree, the best is yet ahead.
Absolutely.
I've been in this field for a long time. I see a lot of us looking back. Let's look back. Let's reinvent the Ulrich model. I don't want to reinvent my model. I want to reinvent the future.
Yeah.
And I want to figure out, where do we go as an HR person? And the opportunities are so great for that, because this is the time for HR. All of the crises of 2020 and 21 kind of all meld around people and talent and organization and leadership, and what we in HR can do to help our business leaders meet their goals. So I think the best is yet ahead for HR. And I'm delighted to share that with you at Sigmar. I hope people will go to www.rbl.ai. We've got a survey that you can find out for free where you stand on this stuff.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I get excited. Jennifer, what's your hope for the... I'm going to let you be the final word.
My hope for the future is that we maintain all of this really lovely communication and empathy, and that people really truly are being put first and being looked at individually, and the personalization piece that you spoke of, that just really continues, and we just see a big change. I hope that my son looks and talks to me about in the future, it used to work like that, because work is going to look so different in the future, that, it's really going to be around the person, and I'm really excited for the future, and I do believe that the best is yet to come.
Amen and amen. And Oliver has a great mother.
Thanks a million. Well, look, thank you so much, Dave. That was absolutely fascinating, and thanks for everyone's attention. I'm going to be handing over now shortly to Michelle Fogarty. So thanks so much, Dave, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.